And we are recording with Mr. L.A. Marzulli on Saturday, September 14th, 2024 at 1:05 p.m. Eastern Time, author of Wrongs of Disclosure. And as I told him beforehand, I haven't had time to read the book because of other stuff, but you and I are going to do another show. We're going to schedule it. But I feel confident in doing this episode because I've done Dr. Lynn Gittai with Dr. Will, or not Dr. with Will Burns. Tomorrow's Ashton Forbes. I've tried to get Bubzar to no avail. But in everything in between, Nick Pope from the UK's Ministry of Defense, UFOs have and will always be a soft spot of mine because I love Cold War history. I love classifications. I love special access programs. And to me, it's kind of like the Arthur C. Clarke quote, either we're alone in the universe or not. And both are equally terrifying. I don't know if that's Arthur C. Clarke. I look at UFOs as it's either foreign technology or it's our own black technology. Both are equally amazing, and they get me so excited and like a kid. So, Mr. Marzulli, please introduce yourself, and guys, please go in the description. The link to the book is in the description. You can grab it. Mr. Marzulli, how are you?
Yeah, thanks for having me on, Tom. Appreciate it.
Yes, sir.
I am L.A. Marzulli. I'm the author of 14 books and the director, producer, host of 30 films. So there's a corpus of work here. We've got 45 minutes to an hour together. You know, we can get into some of this stuff, but 30 films, 14 books.
Yeah.
The newest book, which may be the most important book I've ever written, and that's not hype, is Rungs of Disclosure. It's out right now. We'll be shipping it. We just received the books. So it'll be coming out. We'll be shipping stuff, lamarzulli.com, lamarzulli.com. I think we've shot our wad with the whole UFO phenomena, especially in Rugs of Disclosure. And we have 10 films on the whole UFO phenomena, everything from close encounters, first, second, third, fourth kind, abductions, cattle mutilations, crop circles. We did 2 films on Roswell, and we actually went to the debris field and we found 2 pieces of the metal. That's it in my hand, buried about 8 inches underneath the surface of the earth, and that debris field, folks, is out in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
You'd never find it if you don't have a guide that knows exactly where to take you. You won't get there. Plus, the powers that be have put these babies in the ground, so the metal detectors don't work if there's an iron spike.
Oh,
Right, and they're all over the debris field.
what awful people.
Oh yeah, I mean, nothing to see here, but yet we've got these 12-inch metal spikes, but there's nothing to see, right? Please. So, you know, it is what it is. And we actually start the Rungs of Disclosure book. I've got all these props at my desk.
No, you're good.
The Rungs of Disclosure book. We actually started with the Roswell incident because, you know, in Roswell, that's where everything changed. That's where this is July 8th. It's a copy of the paper. All right. And, you know, this is it. And so, oh, that's the wrong one. This is the one. This is the one. This is July 8th. I knew there was something wrong. RAAF captures flying saucer on ranch in Roswell. And what's interesting here, they've actually got this report from Mr. and Mrs. Dan Wilmot, who saw the thing come in. You know, this thing came in at 400 to 500 miles an hour. It was glowing. It was glowing. So weather balloons don't glow, last time I checked, and they don't travel at 400 to 500 miles an hour. And so this is what they came on the record. Well, the next day, the powers that be, this sets up, you know, 70 some odd years of disclosure, or I'm sorry, of deliberate obfuscation, not disclosure. Exactly the opposite. General Ramey Empty Saucer says excitement not justified. Bum, bum, ba. And so, you know, that's where we are right there. Ramey says, right. And so that starts the decades of deliberate obfuscation. Again, having been to the debris field, we found 2 pieces of metal. That's all in our film. In the debris field, we've got 2 films on Roswell, 10 films on the UFO phenomena. And I referenced them throughout, you know, the book, referenced all these things. And we have an interactive website. So when you go to rungsofdisclosure.com or my website, it's interactive because some of the things that I'm quoting in the book, I'm leading people, hey, we covered this in the film. If you go here, you can see the clip. So it's a very interactive website. So, you know, 14 books, 30 films, a little bit about me.
You can't over my shoulder see. I taught myself graphic design for several years. There's a canvas of some aliens with some blueprints on it, and then I one of the things I got into designing my own like hoodies before I started the podcast. And one of them is it's like blueprints for the flying saucer, and then the cuffs, and then the pocket is actually are prints of that newspaper, the RAAF one. That I
Right.
immediately recognized that. I was like, yeah,
Yeah.
no,
Yeah.
it is the genesis of so much. And I how much of it is because I mean you always kind of hear like the tired, trope of like aliens didn't travel 50 light years just to crash because they lost stability. I tend to think that of all possibilities, one of them is that it is it's almost like I don't know, it's like an airdrop. It'd be like if it's like the United States dropped shoulder fired Stinger missiles into 1970s Afghanistan. I mean,
Which is what we
2024.
did.
Yeah, which is what we did. No, no,
Yeah,
then
exactly.
Mujahideen become the Taliban. No, no, we did it. Not if we did it.
Yeah.
But 2024 Afghanistan's archaic. 1970s Afghanistan, and we're dropping these things that have like liquid cooled sensors to track aircraft engines. That is a real example from history. That's not a sci-fi. That is an actual thing. We're a technologically advanced society, the United States, regardless of whatever. It's us versus the Soviets, whatever. Just as an abstraction, it's us dropping this technology on an archaic people, and they used it to fight the Soviets. It is. It requires zero imagination. It only requires extrapolation to say, well, why couldn't that happen again? How come we are not the equivalent of the Mujahideen? And let's say Roswell was the equivalent of dropping a shoulder-fired rocket launcher or heat-seeking missile launcher. Do you think there's any validity to that idea at all? That maybe we are just in a larger proxy war?
Well, that's what I mean. I've heard this argument before. The quid pro quo, the Eisenhower going to, that 24-hour missing time,
Yeah, chip
goes to Holloman Air Force
yeah.
Base and cuts a deal with the so-called extraterrestrials. It gives them access to the population so they can replace their genome and all this other nonsense. That's one paradigm. The other paradigm which is the one I hold to, and have held to that for decades now. That's what's in the book. These are not extraterrestrials. These are interdimensional entities. And these interdimensional entities have a very nefarious agenda. Case in point, we in one of our films, we actually extracted an implant from a man who had been abducted since he was 5 years old. His name is Emil. We have lunch every couple of months together, even now. That extraction was done by Dr. Roger Lear and Dr. Matriciani. Dr. Roger Lear passed away a number of years ago. Matriciani is no longer in practice. There was a whole protocol that we did under the late Dr. Roger Lear and we show this in the film, it's in our Watchers film, where there's x-rays, there's CAT scans, there's ultrasound, there's a stud finder. So we know there's something metal in this guy's leg, right under his kneecap. There's no entry wound. There's no entry wound at all. Then we go and extract the implant. We can't find it for an hour and 20 minutes. One prayer completely changes the dynamic in the room. And that implant comes from the back of the screen like this. And there it is. And everybody goes, what's that? And Dr. Matriciani goes, that's the implant. 20 minutes later, we had it out and it was in the palm of my hand. Then 2 days later, we were in SEAL Lab looking at it under a scanning electron microscope. Emil came on the record in our film on abductions. And I reference it, of course, in the rungs of disclosure. So Emil was taken at 5 years old. They would find him out on the lawn at 7 o'clock in the morning, 6 o'clock in the morning. So there was a pool in the backyard. They were afraid the kid was going to drown himself. So they put locks on the doors and on the windows. They basically locked the kid in his room. He can't get out. Next morning, they'd find him on the lawn and the locks are still in place. And Emil looks right at the camera and goes, explain that to me. So the whole point I'm making with this implant, is it okay to abduct a 5-year-old boy and implant him? Of course not.
Yeah.
Of course not. So right off the bat, we've got something that goes against everything every civilization on this planet believes. You're trying to tell me if these entities are so brilliant to create this crap that they wouldn't know that they would somehow overlook the fact that we shouldn't be abducting people. They would somehow overlook that, well, we'll take the cow, we'll mutilate it, we'll drain all the blood from it, we'll take the tongue and excise it from the back of the throat, we'll take the sex organs, and then we'll just place it back in the farmer's field. Yeah, that's the right thing to do. Sure it is. That creates the greatest climate of fear because the farmer comes out and he has no explanation. The vet comes out to his farmer's field. He looks at it and goes, well, I don't know what this is. A cop comes out, law enforcement comes out. Well, there's something going on here with cattle mutilations. This is not predators. It's not some satanic cult. And this has gone over. We have a whole film on cattle mutilations. It's the darkest film I ever worked on. It took months to edit because it was so dark. And just the weight of it, just the information. It's like, it's not for the faint of heart. Folks, don't watch the cattle mutilation film. Seriously, don't watch it. I'm telling you right now, you're not allowed to watch it because it's that disturbing. There's no happy ending at the end of the thing. So get back to your point. I believe that what we're looking at is a very extremely nefarious agenda that ties back into the biblical prophetic narrative. And the gateway to the biblical prophetic narrative is found in a scripture in Genesis 3:15. It's the first book of the Bible, thousands of years old, okay? And basically, it's a little vignette. And in that vignette, you've got Adam and Eve over here. They are terrified, by the way. They are absolutely terrified. They know something has happened, but they don't understand the gravity of it. They've sided with the dragon, Satan, the devil. So you got Adam and Eve here, you got the dragon over here, and then in the middle, you've got the pre-incarnate Christ, you've got the pre-incarnate Jesus, who says to the dragon, get this now, because it's so important, folks, your seed, your offspring, your seed, your offspring will be at war with the offspring of the woman. The one coming from the woman will crush your head. You will bruise his heel. It's the whole Bible. If we don't understand Genesis 3:15, when we get to the flood of Noah, we have no idea what we're looking at. Tower of Babel, same thing. Abraham and the king, same thing. When we get to Sodom and Gomorrah, we're left scratching our heads. Who is this wrathful God of the Old Testament? Finally, when we get to the conquest of the Promised Land, and these tribes are there, we have no idea what we're looking at. Those tribes that are in the Levant, in the Promised Land, are Nephilim tribes. The Nephilim are the hybrid entities of fallen angels and human women, creating a hybrid being. I got props all over the place here.
That's awesome.
This is from Paracas. Look at the orbits. The orbits are 25% larger than mine. Look at the elongation. It's not the result of cranial deformation. There's no sagittal suture. There should be a suture which divides the parietal parts, but this is the smoking gun, and Rick Woodward found this for us. Here's the foramen magnum. Look how far back it is. If it's any further back, it's outside the skull.
Yeah.
See that?
Yeah.
Any further back, it should be right here. It should be in the center of the skull. It's not. It's all the way to the posterior of the skull. And so that's genetic. We have a whole film on that. Gee, we got a lot of films, but we do. And this is my wheelhouse. We went to Peru. We're the only team that I'm aware of that actually made a report, peer review paper. You can get it from Mando Gonzalez, who was our lead archaeologist. And there it is. I mean, I'm not making this stuff up. We did 58 samples from 18 skulls. Out of the 58, 28 samples sequenced roughly. And out of the 28, we showed a preponderance of genetic mitochondrial DNA from the female side of the equation that tied it back into the Middle East, which was our hypothesis, that these entities, first of all, were not human. Second of all, that they migrated perhaps from the Middle East. And the mitochondrial DNA shows us that. We're the only team that's ever done that. And of course, academia and the scientific community won't look at it and just, it's all contamination, nonsense. Then you go down and you do your samples and tell us what we're looking at. But what it is, it's the seed war. It's the culmination of the seed war. And it happened 3,500 years ago when Joshua and Caleb and the armies of Israel go into the Levant, go into the Promised Land. The Nephilim tribes are there. The Zanzumim, the Emims, the Raphaim, the Anakim, they're all there. The Horites, They're all there. And so what we see is the manifestation of the seed war. They go at it because the offspring of the dragon is on the field of battle and the offspring from the seed of the woman. Remember, Abraham is tapped out 400 years prior to that. At that point, the dragon, up till Abraham, the dragon has no idea. When I say the dragon, I'm talking Satan. The dragon has no idea where the seed's going to come from. But once Abraham is tapped out and he's told, from your seed, all the nations of the earth will be blessed. And at this time, Abraham's 90 years old. His wife is 90 years old. She's not having her moon cycle anymore. Abraham is probably inept and can't, procreate anymore. And so I got this from Chuck Missler. They go down to Egypt. What's going on here? And Pharaoh wants Sarah, Abraham's wife, in his harem. Excuse me, you don't take a 90-year-old crone into your harem. And something happens. I believe that Father God regenerated them. That's miraculous. And they have children, and the rest is history. So Abraham, the Lord tells him, you're going to go down to Egypt for 40 years until the sin of the Amorites. Amorites were one of the Nephilim tribes. 400 years later, 3 million people leave Egypt and they go into the promised land. There is a small lead tablet that was recently discovered last year on the altar of Jericho, on the altar of give me a second, on Joshua's altar. And that altar has been closed for thousands of years, deliberately shut down. So archaeologists in modernity went in and excavated it. And another archaeologist decades later said, maybe we should wet sift the soil to see what we might have missed. So they did that. They found this lead tablet. This is what it says. Cursed, cursed, cursed. Cursed of Yahweh. You will die cursed. Cursed, cursed, cursed. I was on a Zoom chat with the head archaeologist over in Israel, along with 20 other people. And I raised my hand and asked him the question. And I said, I do not believe, actually it's more of a statement, I do not believe that this cursed tablet is for the children of Israel because of its location, because Joshua's altar is right at the gateway to the promised land. This is deliberate. This is a cursing to the Nephilim tribes, which are, let me get this for you, on the trail of the Nephilim. This is 3 books in one. That we talk about the skull in there. So this curse comes from Joshua's altar, and it's to the inhabitants of the land. Cursed of Yahweh, you will die cursed, 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 cursed. The mingling of the seed, and this is my point. It's a lot of background here.
No. Yeah, keep going. No, I'm loving it. Keep going.
So all this, one more scripture, Daniel 2:43, written thousands of years after the Nephilim and the flood of Noah, the conquest of Canaan, all that. And the entity, the angel, tells Daniel, Daniel, seal up the words in this book. Go your way. You're going to have a nice long life, but seal up the words until the time of the end. And then the angel tells us exactly what the time of the end will be. Men and women will run to and fro over the face of the earth, knowledge will increase. As we are speaking, thousands of planes are flying to and fro over the face of the earth every single day. Knowledge increases now exponentially. We are in the time of the end. Their seed will mingle with the seed of men. Whose seed are we talking about? Whose seed are we talking about? So in the book, there's all these different rungs of disclosure, and I tie it back into the biblical prophetic narrative. I do not believe these are friendly space brothers from some faraway planet. They are interdimensional entities with a very nefarious mission. That mission ties into the seed war, which I just talked about, specifically Daniel 2:43. Their seed will mingle with the seed of men. Well, who are they? It can't be men, so who's left? Who's left? And why is that there 2,500 years ago? Seal up the words until the time of the end. We're in the time of the end. Those words are no longer sealed. A researcher like me looks at that and goes, oh my gosh, it's the seed war, and it's happening right now. Jesus warns us it'll be like the days of Noah. So what differentiates the days of Noah? The fallen angels coming down, mixing the seed. See why this is so important? What's going on today in the modern day abduction phenomena? There seems to be a breeding program. And the earlier hybrid beings, mixing of the seed, were very sickly, large almond black eyes. They look really sick, blonde, stringy hair. That's the first generation. Second generation, and this is, look, you can't go on board and interview these guys. They're not going to tell you anything.
Yeah.
Okay? But this is after decades of research. So that's the first group. The second generation, that's the first generation. The big black eyes, long stringy hair, very sickly looking. But the second generation comes along. They're short and stocky. Okay, and they've got black eyes. Short, stocky, they look like kids, but they're not kids, and they're black eyes. The third generation comes along, they can pass as fully human, except once again, they can't get the eyes right. We interviewed Al Matthews, it's in our film. And Al Matthews, we also talk about this in the book, Rung of Disclosure. Al had an encounter with a female hybrid. I'm not making this stuff up. She wore these like goggles over her eyes. Pretty gal, looked completely human and everything else, except she wore these goggles, these like a swimmer, dark glasses over her eyes. So they have a relationship on Al's there to move this woman. She just came in from Kuwait, allegedly. And he's a professional mover. He meets her, doesn't say anything about the eyes. She's well dressed and very articulate. And they go up in a freight elevator to look at this woman's stuff. She leans over and whispers in her ear, "They're listening, Al." Al goes, "Who's listening?" "You know the Grays. You and I were supposed to meet on the ship." So Al gives this woman his phone number. Months later, she calls him up. They meet. She's at her girlfriend's house. She's still wearing the dark glasses. They're drinking wine out of these huge goblets. And all of a sudden, the fly lands on this woman's glass. Al goes, "I'll get it." She goes, "No, I got it." She reaches over and she doesn't grab the fly with her fingers. She reaches over and the fly sticks to her index finger. And she brings it up to her mouth and she goes from like 6 inches away. She sucks it in somehow. How's that possible? Right? How's that possible? Then she comes over and she sits on Al's lap. And I stopped. I stopped. Like the film is still going, but I go, "Al, you've got a girlfriend. Is this normal behavior for you?" He goes, "No one's ever this." I call it UFO brain fog. He's not in his right mind because when a person is around the craft or these entities, you can't barely remember your own name.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I call it UFO brain fog. So he's not thinking clear. She pulls up his shirt, rubs his chest, and goes, "My, you're well preserved." And she leans forward to kiss him. At this point, he pushes her away. She falls to the ground, her eyes shapeshift, and she lets out the most evil laugh you've ever heard in your life, according to Al. Al flees, runs for his life, goes to a mutual friend, Gordy Tong. They FaceTime me, Zoom me, whatever. And it's actually, it was Skype back then. They Skype me, and we talk Al off the cliff, off the ledge, and we send him up some books and other things to try to. And 2 weeks later, he gives his life to Jesus. Since then, the abductions have stopped, and everything else has stopped. But this is what people don't get. It's a seed war. Yeah. She wanted to have sex with Al because it's a mingling of the seed. She was a hybrid entity. This is in our film. It's also referred to in the Rungs of Disclosure book.
Yeah, I was about to say, as you're telling that story, I'm just like, you get back to you, man. Like, it's what it is. And it's, I mean, you know, so I was going to say is to everything you were just saying, I think that still, not to like, because I have no attachment to my own theory. I don't care. It could still be the equivalent of a proxy war. I mean, if you went and talked to the Mujahideen 50 years later, would they say that America was good? They'd probably be like, "Yeah, no, we ended up attacking them." So it is possible that someone else could give us technology for nefarious reasons. But I do think that I legitimately think that they're demons. I think they're because it's like the anglerfish. Has the nice little, remember Finding Nemo, it has the nice little light, and oh, look at the light. And as it comes near, it's the right. It's the prehistoric right. jaws of death itself. When you look at like a UFO sighting, it always does. And you hear people say like, "Oh, it's just so soft and beautiful." And I'm like, yeah, that's a fishing lure. That's a, oh, look at the you know, it came down and it was quiet and I just felt peace. I'm like, yeah, it's stinging you with morphine so it can eat the organs out of your chest. I'm like, that is
Exactly. Yes, exactly.
exactly. It's
It's
I mean, it
exactly.
really is like what hurts and what is painful is what leads you to God. Not sinning, owning up for your mistakes, admitting when you're wrong, being the bigger man. With health, it's go to bed early, you know, stay hydrated, eat healthy, going to the gym, you know, no pain, no gain, because it hurts. Everything that feels great, getting drunk, eating McDonald's, cheating, those all lead you to hell. And to me, I'm like, yeah, that it's all it's what feels good is bad, and what is bad feels good. And that doesn't mean like be a Puritan and self-flagellate and not enjoy life.
Yeah, yeah, we're not talking about
No,
that.
you can have no, you can enjoy a beautiful life, but it does like when I see that, and then like another theory I have is, I know I'm jumping all over the place, but it's like, you know, look at just the current, let's say the last 100 years of just world history, and it's like, what is the apex? CIA, DARPA, and then you know whatever agencies we don't know about, you know, and those are the ones that you know the Special Access Program, you know, the SR-71 flying in the '60s. It's like okay, so the absolute tip of the spear, I think everyone would agree with, yeah, and they're the most evil. They're the psychopaths. Well, then extrapolate that. Which group of people are probably going to become spacefaring? Is it is it is the guy working at the local homeless shelter? No, it's the equivalent of like the DARPA, you know, and I know I'm broad brushing them. I don't think they're all evil, but it tends to be. I mean, do you think, you know, Dick Cheney, did he rise to the top because he's just a cheery No, he's a blood-sucking demon. So like extrapolate that. If in 1,000 years we had some spacefaring scouts and you and I could somehow talk to the planet they're visiting, they'd be like, "Oh yeah, no, the scout, it's so soft and it's so light." We'd be like, "Those are the descendants of Dick Cheney. Like those aren't the good guys. The guys that have the technology aren't the good people." So that's another way to look at it, is like who has the most advanced technology, who has the best bunkers. They tend to be the least among us in terms of moral and ethical backbone and constitution. So even if they're not demons, which I think they are, but even if they're not demons and they are just a spacefaring species, man, our own world history, our the last 100 years, the last 20 years, you'd go, yeah, those are probably the most ruthless operators, geopolitical operators ever. They're the ones that have the warp drive technology. It's not in the hands of Doctors Without Borders. It's in the hands of DARPA or Skunkworks. Like yeah, man. So they're either demons or they're just spacefaring people who are still demonic in that they are just evil. So yeah, it's like don't go to the light. Don't don't go to the light. Find Jesus and you're good. But I do think I mean, I had on Charlie Duke, who is the youngest man ever to walk on the moon. I know half the people that watch my show don't think we went to the moon. That's fine, whatever. I don't, whatever. He's been on the show, and I mean, he has specifically talked. He's said almost urgently, like there are no aliens. These are demons. That's what he said. And his message is like, you know, he walked on the moon. He says the only thing better than walking on the moon is walking with Christ. He has come back and been like, find Jesus. These are demons. So that's also kind of what like influences my. It's like, well, Tommy, why do you think this? I'm like, there are 3 men on the planet still alive who've walked on the moon, and one of them has told me to my face, these are demons. Find Jesus. I'm like, I'm kind of biased. Like, so I'm with you. I don't really know where I'm going with that tangent, but I don't think that these are good and or just the most
Oh,
basic. If it seems too good to be true, it probably
it
is.
probably is. And I agree. I mean, your comment on Dick Cheney, I don't particularly agree with his politics on any level.
Yeah.
I'm going to distance myself
Let
from
he who is
going
without
there.
sin cast the first stone. I'm not
Yeah,
perfect either.
I'm
Sure,
going to
sure,
just distance myself, Dick.
sure.
Love you, as Christ loved the church, but that's all I'm going to say.
But
Yeah,
yeah, yeah,
that's on you, Tom, not on me.
sure.
But,
Dick
yeah,
Cheney's
especially
gonna
the way,
kill me. Yeah, whatever. Hey, Dick, you know
yeah,
where I am.
exactly.
Just
Especially the way the game is played now.
get
But
it done. Just get the
yeah,
Hellfire missile. I don't do it.
yeah.
Get it over with.
But here's yeah. I mean, these guys have all the power to do everything.
Yeah. So
The,
it's
the
like,
bottom the bottom line is this, and this is why the rungs of disclosure. You got these whistleblowers that are coming out. It starts in 2017. This is why I want to circle back into the book. So you get Commander David Fravor on the Tucker Carlson
mhm.
show. And this is 2017. This is the first rung on the ladder of disclosure. And, Tucker leads into it by saying this, and he's very conservative. Oh, this is Fox News when Tucker was on Fox News. And he goes, UFOs used to be the stuff of tinfoil hat, conspiracy theorists, but maybe we shouldn't think that anymore. Commander David Fravor joins us. He's a former F-18 pilot. And with him, he has a very interesting story, something like that. And Tucker's here. Commander David Favor's here in the center. Over here is the, at one time, classified film showing the tic-tac shaped UFO hovering above the Pacific Ocean. And the interview commences. Fravor, now this is one of his first interviews, I believe. He looks like a deer in the headlights. He's not used to this. It's not what he does. So he's kind of like very stiff. Since then, he's gotten a whole lot better. Mm-hmm. But that was maybe one of his first interviews. I don't know. Anyway, he gets on and they spend 5 minutes talking. And this is a former F-18 pilot. He's a trained witness. He knows exactly what he's looking at. What was this? And Commander David Fravor says, whatever this was, shot away like a bullet out of a gun. Mm-hmm. So we're talking 50 miles in 2 seconds. The G-forces alone would kill a human being. To your point with Bob Lazar, unless there's a gravity wave. So that gravity wave is pulling the ship like this. Yeah. So it's bending space-time as we know it, and there is no gravity. Space-time as we know it has been suspended because of the gravity wave. This thing can do anything it wants because it's not bound by our laws of physics. So 50 miles in 2 seconds is unbelievable, but nevertheless, that's what it is. So they go back and forth for a while. And we also find out later that, they're flying in a circle around this thing. And at some point, Fravor cuts across the circle and goes at it. This thing comes up like this towards Fravor, comes up and jams his radar. That's an act of war, number one. So finally, Tucker asks the $64,000 question. In your opinion, what was this thing? Because David Fravor says right on the record, it's not the Russians, it's not the Chi-Coms, it's unlike anything we don't have anything like it. This is something not from this earth. That's on Tucker Carlson show. That's the first rung on the ladder of disclosure. Since then, we are going up the rungs. What's the top rung? Full-blown disclosure. I want to show your audience something if I can.
Yeah.
I'm going to share my screen.
Yeah. Okay. Yep. Yeah, I remember watching that with my dad. I remember watching that.
There you go.
Yeah.
This is a Super Bowl commercial. Okay, this is a Super Bowl commercial that ran in 2024. It's 1 minute and 30 seconds long, exactly. Super Bowl commercials cost millions and millions and millions of dollars. Not only that, but look at the film. Look at this commercial I'm going to show you, and calculate in your mind the amount of money to create something like this to begin with. This is high video. And it's there. I mean, whoever did this, well, Martin Scorsese, that's there. But the money behind this thing, this is high end. This is high end, big production. So I'm going to roll the clip. This is the Super Bowl ad from 2024. This is predictive programming, in my opinion. This is where we're headed. Okay, here's the clip.
Flying saucers are nothing new. These are routine sightings, not isolated events.
Are you serious? It's spinning. There's a whole swarm of them. Oh my God. They're all against the wind. All against the wind. You have to understand how to think.
There was an historic hearing today on Capitol Hill and an unprecedented bipartisan push for UFO transparency.
told you to take Broadway. This always happens.
So it's an ad for Squarespace. You know, a minute and 30 seconds for an ad of website makes it real. Nonsense.
That's
And the production,
30 million.
the production behind that is off the charts.
Yeah. No.
I'm,
yeah, no.
I'm a filmmaker. And you've got 4 different locations. Granted, the Cactus Diner is one, New York City is another, Paris, France, and Tokyo. What they're trying to tell us that when they show up, it'll be a global phenomenon. It's not going to be one UFO mile wide.
Yeah.
No, it's not going to be that. And I believe, and this is the last rung on the ladder of disclosure, and I'm not going to give away the farm, but I will tell you this, Tom. I will tell you this. We are linked up and wired up because of the internet in ways that history, it's never happened before. And we are linked up. Something happens on this planet, and that something is a nuclear device going off. That will change everything.
Mm-hmm.
That nuclear device, anywhere on this planet, you bomb somebody, you use a nuke, I don't care where it is, whether it's the Middle East, Ukraine, you know, Poland, wherever that thing gets dropped and detonated, the entire planet zones in because we're all connected. The entire planet zones in. Everyone is terrified. Guess what? Fear is their calling card.
Mm-hmm.
That's when they show up. That's when they show up. And they will say this, that we created all life on this planet. We genetically manipulated early man. We started the world's civilizations. We started the world's religions. Now at this critical juncture in human history, your space brothers are back to usher mankind into a golden age. One world government, one world religious system. Oh, wait. Yeah. Where have I heard that before?
Yeah.
Book of Revelation. Book of Revelation tells us
Christ is king, you demons.
Yeah, well, that's exactly where we are.
No, yeah.
This is the coming great deception. Jesus says it'll be like the days of Noah. He warns us that men will think for fearful is coming upon the earth. So I gave you a little glimpse of the last chapter in the book and where I think it's going, because full disclosure is imminent. Right now, right as we speak, you've got saber rattling with nukes, which is unprecedented.
As of yesterday, I had on Dr. Ted Postal from MIT. He's a nuclear expert. He was just came on yesterday and was talking about. He's like, they're trying to give Ukraine the green light to
nuke Russia.
And it's like
exactly.
I interrupted you.
No. I mean, I follow this religiously, literally, because I know that I believe that the nuke is their trigger. A nuke going off somewhere on this planet is their trigger because it creates the greatest climate of fear, and we're here. We're here, and that's going to change. When they show up, it's the ultimate game changer. It ushers in the prophecies of a one world government and a one world religious system. The Pope is now saying, I'll cover this on my show next week. I do a pre-records on everything on Sunday, then we roll them out, one day at a time. But the Pope is saying that, all paths lead to God. He's trying to tell us this, that there's nothing special about Jesus at all, that everybody, whether you're a Buddhist or Hindu or whatever, or Muslim, that all leads back to God. This is pantheism. No, it doesn't. That's why Jesus says, I am the way, the truth, and life. No one comes to the Father. These are not just idle words. Not just idle words. In the prophecies in the Bible, that's the only tome on this planet that has the thread of prophecy from Genesis to the book of Revelation. We are in it. We are in it. Their seed is mingling with the seed of men. They will not cleave to them. This is exactly where we are. This is exactly where we are. And that's why this book, in my opinion, and folks, I get it. Ellie Marzulli is just trying to sell books. You bet your bottom dollar I am, because it's that important. It's that important.
To people that say, like, your guest is trying to sell their book, I'm like, yes, this show is trying to make money. Get over it. What are you talking about?
What's wrong with that?
What? This how the world runs, you commie. No, it's
exactly.
And that's what I always tell people. I'm like, you get these this shows come to great harm to me. I do all these interviews. It's for free for anyone. That's the other thing, is the show is just always for free. Yeah, I'm like, yeah, the guest is allowed to plug their book as I'm allowed to plug Patreon, or so shut up. But no, also it's it is there's kind of no way around it. And you can put your head in the sand for so long before you eventually have to just stare it in the face. And it's like, the most powerful people on the planet are so very clearly into occult rituals.
Very much so.
I mean, you can write it off for as long as you want, as I did. You can roll your eyes and make fun of it as long as you want, as I did, until you start seeing videos with your own eyes of Bohemian Grove, where you start seeing those 2016 emails about spirit cooking and, someone emailing Hillary and saying, I'm sacrifice a chicken in the backyard. You can laugh at it all you want. That's fine. I didn't write the email. It's what it is. It's just what it is. And you don't have to believe in God. But what you have to understand is that these people clearly believe and kneel to a dark force.
Mhm.
Hey, man, at a certain point, you should just hedge your bet and be like, well, the people that are involved in child sex trafficking, which is truly this inner ring of hell, the perversion of true innocence. I'm
Yeah,
34.
really.
If I got trafficked, it wouldn't be great. But at the same time, I'd be like, to a degree, I probably deserve this. This is probably karma some way. Or I was an idiot in college. I burned a lot of, I burned and broke a lot of property as a drunk frat boy at 19. Hey, you know what? I don't want to be trafficked, but I'd kind of get it. Trafficking a child. So when you look at that and you go, it's just the absolute, remove the occult stuff, which you can't, but let's just for a moment remove the occult stuff and just look at the trafficking of children, the manufacturing of fake intelligence to go into the Middle East, to push these wars. When the evilest people, and you can be a complete atheist, that's fine. When the evilest people subscribe to an idea, it's not a bad idea to just subscribe to the opposite. If Jeffrey Epstein did a master class on human trafficking, it was like, one thing I do every morning when I wake up is I drink coffee with a lot of creamer. I mean, by default, I would probably go, I'm gonna drink black coffee from now on, just to distance myself from that. That's how I look at it. And then as you come closer to God and ask God to come into your heart, which you do have to do, you have free will.
You have to ask them. Yeah,
You have
absolutely.
to because it's well, why would I have free will? Because God's been around for there is no time. God is and always has been. God doesn't want a marionette. I don't want to guess that's just me. Like I don't like what if my guest was just like like another animation version of me? I'm like, I don't want to talk. It's me. I'd rather talk to you. I have no idea where it goes. It's because you have your own free will. At any point, we can just go any which way, and that's what that. And so God doesn't want a marionette. So it is free will. You aren't nothing. You are actually at the forefront of God's creation, and it is your choice to say you do or do not want God to come into your heart. So
It's total free will.
it's
Total free
total
will.
free will, which is it's terrifying, but it's also you can just like enter the cheat code real quick. You can just say, Jesus, please come into my heart. God, please come into my heart. It's really you can do it that simply.
Yeah, it's all. If my
Literally
first
is that.
my first mentor Wayne Kendall used to tell me, L.A. If it was any, he used to call me Marzulli. Marzulli, if it was any more difficult than that, no one could get it because that's all it is.
Yeah.
When we ask Jesus, come in. I'm a sinner. I believe that you died for me. Come in and change my life. I did that 44 years ago, and my life has never been the same. I want to show you one more thing.
Yeah, go for it.
'Cause
Well, yeah, I was gonna say, yeah, no, you can do it. But Charlie Duke told because I mean, I was a biology major in college. I got into
Right.
medical school, hardcore atheist from like age 15 forward. I remember he told me, and he didn't even tell me on air. He told me afterwards. He said, "Hey, just look at it as a scientist." He goes, "Try it as a variable, like you would try like a supplement." He goes, because I told him I was like, I meditate every day. He goes, just ask God to come into your heart. He goes, even if you don't believe it or you're skeptical, he goes, he basically said like, give it the old college try. So I was like, you know what? Sure, it cost me nothing. My life has been irreversibly, inexplicably better since I did that in 20. I mean, to the point where I'm like, it really is that easy? You can just, it doesn't mean you don't have problems. But man, that's what I'd say to people is just try it on your own. Try it on your own. You don't have to say it out loud. You don't have to make a Twitter post about it. You don't have to get made fun of by your atheist friends. Just in the quiet of your own mind, say, Jesus, please come into my heart. Basically, hey, prove me wrong. Show me that my life can be better. And God will flood you with just love and peace. And that's what I'd say to people. But yeah, share this.
Well, 44 years ago, I was an occultist. I was with the guru for 3 years. My third eye was opened. I had spirit guides. I did vision quests. I mean, I was on the other side of the aisle.
Yeah.
And I finally became an agnostic for basically 3 or 4 years. And I started reading some Christian books, and at the end, one by Dave Hunt, The Cult Explosion. And I remember going, I don't know whether you're real or not, but if you are, come into my heart. That was my prayer. That's all I said. And my life has never been the same. So circling back into this, I'm going to show you this clip. And it doesn't matter what this woman is talking about. She could be giving the formula for nuclear fission, or she'd be giving a great recipe for eggplant parmesan. Watch this clip.
Have you ever had, maybe you're in that place right now where you want to turn your life around, and you know somewhere deep in your soul there could be some decisions that you have to make. Like, you know, like it's like something was decided for you, and instead of trying to make something that is done work, it's like the invitation is to make the decision, commit to that, and to start creating what comes next. But here's the thing.
Okay, what you just saw was 100% AI generated.
I was about to say, is this AI?
It wasn't real.
I was going to say, is this AI? There's something around the math that got it.
Yeah, I know. And that's 6 months old. And the technology, and there's a scripture. It's found, where is that? Isaiah 59. Give me a second. Yeah, Isaiah 59:14. And it says this: justice is held back. Righteousness stands far away. Truth is thrown to the street, and honesty cannot come in. This is where we are, because no longer can a normal human being ascertain what's real and what's fabrication. How can you be held accountable for anything? Someone could take my image and make the most vile, or your image, and makes the most vile, despicable things you could possibly imagine, put it up on YouTube, and now what do you, and it's already happening. You know, people are taking it and making nudes of women, and now what do I do with this? It looks 100% real. You can't tell, but it's AI generated. This is a line in the sand, in my opinion, and this is why we are at the last of the last of the last stage, combined with all the UFO stuff. And I'll just say this: one of the last rungs on the ladder of disclosure. We're getting to the top of the hour here, but I want to just leave you guys with this. David Grush stands before Congress, sits before Congress. He's under oath, number one. Number two, he's a whistleblower. Number three, Nancy Mace, representative from South Carolina, asked him the question, did we retrieve crashed craft? He basically says, I've already stated that, but the answer is yes. He won't discuss it in the public setting. Then she follows up, well, were there pilots, were there bodies found in some of these craft? And he, again, and I'm a student of body language, he looks right up at her. He's telling the truth as he knows it. He looks right up and says, yes, we retrieved biologics from the craft. Some of the craft came with biologics. She goes, were these biologics human or non-human? David Grush looks right at her and says, non-human biologics. That's a huge line in the sand that we just crossed, because he's admitting that we've got the bodies. In our film on Roswell, specifically in this film, in the debris field, and also in the other one, Exoneration. So there's two films on Roswell. I mean, I'm a busy guy here.
Good.
Yeah, there's two films, Exoneration and In the Debris Field. In that, we interviewed and we show several deathbed affidavits. One of them is from Walter G. Haught. Walter G. Haught was in Roswell. He talks, and it was that affidavit was not open until after his death. And he states on the record that in that affidavit that he was brought into Hangar 84, and we got into Hangar 84, and we filmed in Hangar 84. But Walter G. Haught got into Hangar 84. He saw the craft. He saw the bodies. So this goes back to Roswell, which is the beginning of our full circle of our conversation. The very first chapter in the book is on Roswell. But David Grush is one of the last rings in this book, and he talks about the bodies retrieved, non-human biologic. Folks, it's happening. And I would suggest you get 3 books. Oh, you're getting greedy. One for you and your family, one for your best friend, right? And the other one for your pastor, because this is important. And I just showed you the AI thing, and that was taken, 6-8 months. Actually, it's almost 9 months ago. I first saw that. So everything has progressed
Yeah.
since then in a whole different way. And the ad in the Super Bowl is predictive programming.
Mhm.
It's going to happen probably after a nuke. And all I can tell you is, in my opinion, and I've been a ufologist for 40 years. I saw my first UFO when I was 12 years old. And you can not heed the warning, or you can at least get one copy of the book. I'm also, just so you guys know, I'm doing an audio version of the book, and it will be on Kindle pretty soon. So there's lots of ways to get it. But the information there is different than the so-called ancient astronaut theorist, the ancient alien crowds. With all due respect to those guys,
Sure.
they're entitled to their opinion. But we look at everything. Everything in the book is from a biblical perspective. We tie it into ancient prophetic texts. LAMarzulli.com, LAMarzulli.com. Thanks for having me on. Really appreciate it.
We'll wrap it up. Yeah, and I'll text you. We're gonna schedule one.
Sure, sounds good.
Yeah, no, it's and as my buddy Clay Martin, Special Forces guy, kind of atheist to now he's just like, yeah, no demons run among us. He said 10,000 generations chose you to fight at Ragnarok. It is not a black veil. And the other way I look at it is like, you're Tom Brady. You're being put in with 2 minutes left in the Super Bowl, and you got to score a touchdown. Is it scary? Yes, but you should also take great honor in you're being put in to close out the game. God chose you to be around here. Instead of going, why am I alive during the UFO ends? Why couldn't I just, hey, I get it. I'm with you. It's nerve-wracking. I have my own anxieties and bad days. But you're put in to be the closer because you're the most badass quarterback. You're Mariano Rivera. You're putting in to close out the ninth inning. Take some pride in that. You're brought in because you're the killer. Come in and win the game. And I say that as somebody who's chronically anxious. I get it. But hey, God put you in because you've got the best batting average, man. So come in and just win this thing. So, Mr. Marzulli, thank you so much for your time. I have the book in the description. I'll put the website to lamarzulli.com. I'll put that in the description. I'll grab the book. I'll text you. We'll schedule the next one.
Looking forward to it, Tom. Great.
Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. God bless you.
Yes, sir. God
Thanks,
bless you
folks,
as
for
well.
watching.
Yes,
Take
sir.
care.
Guys, thank you for watching. Let God into your heart. It's all right.